How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? This is Indeed Gaming here. I am in fact Mr. Indeed, and welcome to my channel. Please do like, share, and comment on this video, and we're gonna get right into it. Now, this video is not to attack anybody or to come after anybody or anything like that. This isn't particularly because I heard any of these particular people behaving this way. It's just more of a conversation about how people think about this game. And one of my last videos, I had a conversation with somebody, and I've seen this sentiment a few times, not just in my videos, but other videos, of people feeling like the way that the game is unbalanced is just gonna weed out all the bad players and leave only all the high-level players and stuff like that. The problem with that type of thought process is that high-level players do not keep games alive. They just don't. Like, high-level players, for the most part, at most are about 10% of a gaming community. And that's being generous. More than likely, they're somewhere between 5 and less than that. To try to balance a game based off the opinion of the highest level players in a game is very, very not smart if you want to keep your game alive anyway. And I don't know why people seem to think that that's the case. And the problem with a lot of high level gameplay in certain games, not all games, but in certain games, is that it's just not fun to watch. So not only are you going to kill the community of people who play the game, but you're going to kill the community of people who enjoy watching the game. Like, I don't like watching high-level DP battles for the most part, because I know everyone's just playing with they're just playing with their kind of gimmick characters, their Yajirobis, their Roshis and stuff like that. And to a degree, I understand it. You know, if you have that DP number left, you want to put someone in there instead of leaving it blank. I get it. At the same time, personally, I like, and this is more of a personal thing, it's like if I'm going to play a game, I want to play the game with the people I like. So when I do play DP battles, my team is usually base Super Goku, base Super Vegeta, and base Super Broly. Or base Super Gohan. Broly and Gohan are they're interchangeable. Kind of depends on how I'm feeling. Honestly, I want to get good with base Broly, but I don't know. It's just something about his stuff just doesn't connect the way that I want it to, and I'm not really sure. I haven't put in the time really with him, if I'm being honest. Maybe I'll do that today. But either way, I play with those characters because I like those characters. It's not like, oh, well, I got this character because I can heal every once in a while, or I get this character because I got after image strike and I'm just going to use that over and over again. That's not how it is. It's just that I'm going to play the characters that I like, and it is what it is. I think a lot of when it comes to people watching the gameplays, like, yeah, people like, watching the fights, but they also like watching cool characters fight. Yajirobe is not a cool character. He's not. Master Roshi is not a cool character. He's not. I understand, like I said, when people choose those characters in their DP teams, I understand why. They want to have one really strong character, and that kind of offsets their numbers or whatever. Whereas when I pick my characters, everybody's 5, so it's just 3 people. So I'm not saying that I'm not trying to bash them for doing it that way. I understand it to a degree, but I don't think that I think people need to understand, the point of the video anyway, is that high-level gameplay does not keep games alive. It just doesn't. The highest percentage of player base in a fighting game is not going to keep your game alive. And if you think that people need to balance the game around it, you just want Sparking Zero to die. I'm sorry, it's as plain and as simple as that. Like, I watched a video of some YouTuber talking to I don't know who this guy was. I want to say that I've seen him in a couple of tournaments or so, fighting Hardy. I could be wrong, or fighting Dom, one of the two. If you watch that type of gameplay every once in a while, you know who those two people are. Or he may have been one of them. I don't think it wasn't Hardy. Maybe it was, no, it wasn't, it don't matter who it was. All I know is that he was one of those higher level people, and the conversation, the topic of their video was, it's too easy to do super counters. Which to me is a very, given the state of the balancing of the game, to have a conversation about how easy it is to do super counters is kind of dumb. Like that's dumb. I don't even understand why they're talking about shit like that. Like, you have people with unblockable ultimates like legendary Super Saiyan Broly, who they'll literally just wait until they get their they get enough skill counts, and they'll just start spamming, knock you away, spam their instant spark, and then just throw a huge unblockable ultimate at you, and that's how they win the game. And I've seen that in high level gameplay as well. So it's like, how are you talking about how easy it is to do a counter, but you're not talking about shit like that? It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, people shouldn't be able to just spam something and have, like, even in high level gameplay, a 60 to 75% chance of success. Because some of those guys can dodge those, they can banish those unblockable ultimates pretty decently, but I've never seen someone do it like all the time, even the high level players. How are you talking about how easy it is for people who maybe aren't as like super high level to do a counter, but you're not talking about that? Like, that's ridiculous to me. That's completely ridiculous to me. I do think that there's a conversation to be had about how some of the counters are, because some counters you can do in situations that I don't think make sense. Like, you can take a grab if somebody is behind you. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. You can also take a grab if you're in the middle of an animation, which I don't think makes sense either. Like, you should be, if you're able to take a grab, you should be able to be at, you should only be able to do it when you're in neutral. And I can't remember what exactly scenarios you can still do it or not, but I know I've done it before, and I know people have done it to me. So I know it's a thing. Yeah, I think there's a conversation to be had about stuff like that, but I would wait for that conversation personally. I would even say the conversations about, once you're in sparking, you can just kind of spam your key blast and then lock somebody into an animation and then get your ultimate off, especially if you're playing with a character that has unblockable ultimate. But even if you're playing with a character that doesn't have an unblockable ultimate, again, these are conversations that I feel like we should be having before we're talking about how easy it is to do a certain counter. Because at a certain point, if you're getting punched in the back of the head, a super counter for the most part is probably your best bet on getting out of that, in my opinion. I know that you can vanish certain attacks, but you can only vanish certain attacks. If you're getting hit in the back of the head, there's really only one way for you to get out of it, if the person who's hitting you knows what they're doing. Oh, well, obviously, unless you have like a character that has explosive wave or something like that, to be fair. But yeah, it's like, there's not a whole lot of ways that you at base can get out of certain things. It's like, I don't understand why we would want to make it more often that if you get behind somebody, you can just put them in an infinite combo if you know what they're doing and there's nothing they can do. Personally, I don't think that's fun. I wouldn't even want to do that. Like, I semi know how to do it. I've never done it to anyone before. Like, to be able to just kind of keep those combos going to the point that the only way they can get out of it is a super counter. I kind of know how to do it, but I also wouldn't play like that even if I knew how to do it. I don't want to put somebody in an infinite combo. I want to fight people. Unfortunately, that means that people are gonna have to fight back. It is what it is. I don't want people to not be able to fight back, because if I can continue to put people in situations where they can't fight back, then the game isn't fun anymore for me. And I also don't want to get put in situations where I can't fight back, because then the game's not fun for me anymore either. Like, there's a lot of conversations that we need to have about balancing in the game and how things are done in the game, but how easy it is to do a certain type of counter is not it. I would say that there's even a conversation to be had about the vanish battles. I hate vanish battles. I absolutely hate them. I know back in the old days they were kind of fun or whatever. I know it's kind of a staple of the game, but they need to put in a way to get out of that shit. Because if every time I do a super counter to somebody, So I get them off of me. I now have to go into a super battle where hopefully I have enough key than them, well, more key than them, or even if I do have more key than them, now but for me to finish or actually beat them in that, I need to use all of my keys. So now I have to recharge my key. It's just more time of me not fighting. It's more time me spent not actually playing the game. Because now I need to try to get my key back. Those are conversations that I think that we should be having about the balancing of the game and the state of the game. Not like, oh, it's too easy for people to do super counters. Even people who are lower level players can do them. It's like, so what? So what? Even if somebody is a lower level player and they can do super counters, it shouldn't matter if you're a higher level player because you're going to beat them anyway. Just because they can counter you every once in a while. So guess what? You can counter them back. So I genuinely don't even understand why that was a topic of a fucking video. Like that shit was dumb to me. No offense to that YouTuber or that player or whatever, but that shit was dumb. I can't understand it. But that's all I really have to say on the topic. I mean, I think people need to keep in mind, from my understanding, I don't know that this is true. This is what somebody told me. I haven't looked into it that much because I really don't care. At least because it's not going to stop me from playing the game. But I was told that like 90% of Sparking Zero's community went away. And I understand that to a certain point, like, yeah, people are going to play a game. You know, a new game comes out, it's always going to have drop off, always. But if you think that it has nothing to do with the poor balancing of the game, I think you're 100% wrong. The poor balancing of the game is what makes people leave the games like this. Poor balancing of the game is why you have so many rank B levels and rank C levels and rank D levels, but if you play them, they're actually good at the game. It's because they realized that ranked matches were a joke and they weren't balanced at all, and you would have to play with gimmicky characters for the most part to actually get high level in there. So people just stop playing ranked matches. That's what it is. Like, so if your game is in a state, or if the game that you're playing is in a state where people don't play ranked matches because it's bullshit, those are the types of things that you should be talking about. And I promise you that nobody stopped playing ranked matches because it's too easy to do fucking super counters, nigga. Like, come on. Whatever. I think that's something that people need to keep in mind. This video, the topic of this video is something that people need to keep in mind. The high level players are not going to keep the game alive. They're just not. We need to talk about the balancing things that are making the casuals and mid-tier players go away. Because casual and mid-tier players are the things that keep games alive. They just are. So those are the things that we need to be talking about. I know that Bandai just announced an official tournament coming up, and if games that I've seen before are anything to go by, this tournament could be a huge turning point for the game. Because I used to play a game called For Honor. I'm sure some of you have played it before. When that game first came out, they had an official tournament too. And the game was doing quite well. Now it had issues and everything, but it was more exploits for that game, but they were having issues as well. They allowed the exploits to be used in the tournament because they're like, oh, well, it's in the game. That was a stupid ass move. Because as soon as when that tournament ended, their game in general took a huge hit to their player base, because people watched people use exploits to win a tournament, because the person who won the tournament was using an exploit, and they used the exploit the entire tournament. Nobody wants to watch a tournament of Legendary Broly or Full Power Jiren just spamming their sparking mode, or Beerus spearing their sparking mode and just throwing a huge unblockable ultimate at people. Nobody's going to want to watch that. Now, there is some characters that have unblockable ultimates that are a little bit more balanced. Like, Fat Boo? His unblockable ultimate is actually very slow. So theoretically, you could probably fly away from it. Theoretically. So that's a little bit more balanced, but either way, Unblockable ultimates should not be a thing in this game, in my opinion. They just shouldn't. It's a very easy win button for too many people, especially if you know what you're doing. So that's something that people need to be looking at, and people need to keep in mind. Like when this tournament comes out, like I know that there's a balancing, or there's a patch, I should say, that's supposed to be coming out before the tournament. That whatever happens with that patch and whatever happens in this tournament could drastically affect the game. Because if somebody ends up winning the tournament or getting really far in the tournament by just spamming instant sparking mode the entire game, it's not going to be good for the game's life. I promise you it won't be. Because nobody wants to see that shit and nobody wants to play that shit. So these are things that people in the community, in my opinion, need to keep in their mind. Keep in mind. Balancing is a fairly important thing in fighting games, and exploits are something that are typically frowned upon by the community, whether they want to admit it or not. Now maybe some of the higher level players don't mind that spamming a key blast, spamming of instant sparking, and all this other stuff. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, I can get away from it this way, or you just need to do better, blah blah blah, this and that, or it's an effective way to play, blah blah, whatever they want to say. Like yeah, they might want to say some shit like that, but it's not gonna keep the game alive. It's not gonna keep the game alive. If you want the player base of this game to go down to like 5,000 or 10,000 people consistently between all systems, like okay, think like that. Think like that. But if you want the game to keep a very steady and decent player base, the balancing is going to need to be looked at. It's going to need to be looked at. But that's all I got for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one. Indeed.